Have you ever woken up and felt like life was stuck on repeat? The alarm goes off. You scroll through your phone, rush to get ready, then dive headfirst into the grind. Deadlines, expectations, pressure. Each morning feels like a faded copy of the one before, but it doesn't have to stay that way. There's a philosophy that helps emperors, warriors, and everyday people stay strong through life's storms. Stoicism. Not empty feel-good quotes, but solid, practical principles that train you to master your emotions, take control of your thoughts, and move with clarity through the chaos. In this video, you'll be guided through 12 meditations, not just to listen to, but to wake you up. Each one is a gentle slap to the mind, a pull out of the fog, and a reminder that you can live differently. By the end, you won't start your mornings on autopilot anymore. You'll start them with reason, with inner strength, and with a clarity you may have never felt before. Don't look away. Number 1. Remember you could die today. You open your eyes in the morning. Your phone buzzes, a work email, a few social media notifications, an unpaid bill. You jump out of bed and dive into the day, barely noticing one simple truth: you're still alive. It sounds ordinary, but it's the most extraordinary thing you keep brushing past without a second thought. Remember, you could die today isn't a grim warning. It's a different lens to look at life through. Like capturing a photo at sunset, the light only lasts a few minutes. So you pay attention, you savor it. Life is the same, yet we live like there's always next time. Picture sitting next to someone you love. Your dad, your mom, an old friend. You're scrolling your phone, half listening, tossing out distracted replies. They ask something, you give a quick answer. But if you knew this was the last time you'd ever sit with them, would you act the same? Every glance, every word would turn into a memory, not because it was special, but because you chose to make it matter. There's something strange. When we come face to face with death, we live more clearly. A friend of mine survived a motorcycle crash. Lying on the pavement, he didn't think about work, money, or big plans. He just regretted snapping at his wife that morning over the wrong kind of coffee. Since then, he never leaves the house without kissing her goodbye. Not out of fear, but because he finally sees what truly matters. Seneca once said, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life." This isn't about being morbid, it's about being intentional, complaining less about the rain, texting someone you love even if it feels awkward, not putting off a dream just because you assume there's time. Take 30 seconds each morning and ask yourself, if today was the last, who would I want to see? What would I want to say? What's one thing I never want to repeat again? Write down one thing, just one, then go do it. Not to become someone great, just so you won't regret it when life knocks on the door one final time. And something shifts when you live like death is quietly watching. You begin to appreciate everything, even the parts you once wanted to throw away. But the real question is, will you realize what you have before it's gone? Number 2, appreciate what you already have. Every morning, you wake up, check your phone, and see someone just got back from Europe. Someone else just bought a new car. someone got promoted. And just like that, your day starts with a sense of lack. If it's not lack of sleep, then it's lack of luck. If it's not money you're missing, it's the life you think you should be living. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, today, you opened your eyes, you can still see. There's someone you can text. You still have 2 hands to hold that phone. Isn't that already more than enough? Gratitude isn't some abstract concept. It's a survival skill in a world that keeps telling you you're not enough. People think gratitude means sitting in meditation, picturing warm light, and feeling peaceful. No, gratitude is remembering how miserable you were that night you had a fever and no one around. Gratitude is realizing that as you're eating, the power's still on, the internet isn't lagging, and your stomach isn't aching. You take a bite and quietly think, yeah, life's not so bad. There's a line Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his private journal, a line most people overlook, but it's enough to make you pause. Do not set your mind on things you don't possess, as if they were yours, but count the blessings you actually possess and think how much you would desire them if they weren't already yours. If you lost everything today, would you still take what you have right now for granted? I once met a man named Daniel, a mechanic living in the suburbs. He led a life many city folks would call ordinary. One afternoon, while changing a tire for a customer, he said something I'll never forget. I used to dream of being a boss. Then I had an accident, broke my leg, and was stuck in bed for 3 months. Now, just being able to get up and go to work. All I want is to drive myself to the shop, sip my morning coffee, and cuss at the air compressor when it breaks. Life's actually pretty decent, as long as you don't forget what you once lost. Want to start practicing gratitude? It's simple. Before you go to bed, look around your room and pick one thing you'd really miss if it were gone tomorrow. The air conditioner, your mattress, the soft glow of a lamp. Then ask yourself, did I live today as if I was grateful for that? You don't need to write in a journal. Just slow down for a few seconds. And if tomorrow morning you woke up and everything you have now was gone, what would you miss most? Drop a comment, something you used to take for granted but now see as a blessing. And if you ever need a daily reminder that your life is anything but ordinary, hit subscribe, because you're not lacking, you just forgot. Number 3, simplicity is freedom. Have you noticed? We often buy something new not because we need it, but because we feel empty. A vague kind of emptiness, as if without filling it with stuff, we'd be left to face ourselves. But the more we pile on, the more we feel lacking. The more we cram into our lives, the harder it becomes to see what actually matters. Simplicity, according to the Stoics, isn't about lacking, it's about choosing. Choosing to let go of what's unnecessary, so we can hold on to what truly counts. Imagine your mind as a desk. Every day, you pile on news, deadlines, comparisons with others, endless social media scrolling. By the end of the day, there's no space left to think clearly. Simplicity isn't an aesthetic trend, it's a survival tactic. A clear desk is easier to work at. A tidy mind is easier to live with. Sometimes, decluttering is as simple as not replying to a message right away, cancelling plans you never wanted in the first place, saying no to extra work just because someone expects you to say yes. A person who lives simply isn't deprived. They're just clear on what brings them peace. They don't chase after everything because they understand. The more options you have, the less freedom you feel. Seneca once wrote, "He is a great man who uses earthenware dishes as if they were silver. A great person uses simple things as if they were precious, not because they don't understand value, but because they don't let material worth define their own." Think back to the last time you felt overwhelmed. Was it because you were trying to hold too many things at once? Work, unread messages, unfinished plans. What would happen if you removed just one must? What if you kept only 3 priorities each day? Here's a truth we rarely say out loud. The people who seem to have it all are sometimes the most bound. And those who own little, but are intentional with every choice, they're the ones who are truly free. That's why learning to let go matters. Because if you don't, you'll stay scattered, stuck in what you think are choices, but are really just reactions. And in the end, can you really say you're choosing anything if you haven't even figured out what's within your control? Number 4, control what you can. You can't stop the rain just to stay dry, but you can bring a jacket. It sounds simple, but that's the heart of Stoic philosophy, knowing clearly what's within your control and what isn't. And once you do, something unexpected happens. The world stops knocking you off balance the way it used to. One morning, I was waiting in line at a cafe. The guy in front of me got frustrated because the card machine glitched. He snapped at the staff, shot angry looks at everyone behind him, then stormed out. But think about it, the machine didn't work. That wasn't his choice. But the anger, that was. And every day, we make those same choices, to be angry, upset, or consumed by things that were never ours to control. Like when you go online and see someone criticizing you, you can't control what they say, but you can control whether you let it ruin your day. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And he was right. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not being ruled by what you don't. To really understand this, hear Jack's story. He's a single dad working as a delivery driver. One evening, just as his shift ended, a customer cancelled an order last minute. He lost $200 in seconds. Furious, Jack was ready to call back and argue. But right then, his daughter ran up and hugged him. "Daddy, you're home. I've been waiting for you." Jack looked at her, hung up the phone, and simply said, "I'm starving. Let's eat." It's not that he wasn't angry. It's that he chose what was truly worth responding to. That moment changed his whole evening and shaped a memory his daughter will always carry. If you want to build this mindset, try one small habit. Whenever you feel frustrated or out of control, ask yourself, is there anything I can actually change about this? If the answer is no, then the best thing you can do is let it go. Not give up. Let go, like setting down a heavy stone you've been carrying. Be like Jack. Choose your response like someone in charge. And if this message hits home, don't wait for someone to tell you to like the video. Do it because you choose to. because that's something you can control. Number 5. Don't waste time on others' opinions. Monday morning, you're wearing your favorite shirt, stepping into the elevator feeling pretty good. Then a co-worker looks you up and down and casually drops, "That shirt looks kinda weird." Just one comment. But it clings to your mind the entire morning. You start tugging at your sleeves, checking the mirror, wondering, is this too much? What do people think? That's how you hand over the reins of your emotions to someone else. And the irony, they probably forgot about it 5 minutes later. Marcus Aurelius once said, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. We love ourselves by instinct, yet live by others' opinions by choice." Strange, isn't it? But here's the thing, it's deeply human. Back in primitive times, being cast out from the group meant death. So even though we no longer live in caves, we still fear being judged. But you're not in the Stone Age anymore. No one's exiling you from the village for wearing plaid pants. Here's a picture to keep in mind. People's opinions are like the weather. Some days it's sunny, some days it rains, some days it storms. You can't change the weather, but you can choose to bring an umbrella, wear a raincoat, or stay inside. Your reaction is in your control. The weather isn't. More practically, the next time someone says something that stings, try 3 things. Pause for 5 seconds. Don't react right away. Ask yourself, is this someone living a life I admire? If not, then you know what to do. Let it go, and keep moving in line with your own values. A friend once told me he always wanted to start a YouTube channel teaching guitar, but for 2 whole years he didn't post a single video, afraid people would say he sucked. One day he just snapped and said, "I'm 30 years old and still scared of a few random comments." I wasted 2 years worrying about people whose names I don't even know. His first video wasn't great, but now his channel has nearly 100,000 followers. He didn't suddenly become amazing, he just stopped caring about being laughed at. The Bible puts it this way, "For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man?" You don't have to be religious to get the message. What truly matters isn't how others see you. It's the direction you're walking in. So, if not every opinion deserves your attention, does everyone deserve a reaction? Some attacks only land because we raise our shield. But what happens when we stop raising it altogether? The answer might just surprise you. Number 6. Not everything needs a reaction. You're scrolling through social media and spotting an annoying comment under your post. Your fingers itch to clap back with something sharp, something that puts them in their place. But in that very moment, if you choose to pause, you're practicing one of the greatest mental strengths in Stoicism. Not everything needs a reaction. The truth is, many things that happen throughout your day don't actually require a response, but we often feel like we have to give one. Someone cuts you off mid-sentence, leaves you on scene, swerves recklessly in traffic. You feel disrespected, and your first instinct is to strike back. But what happens if you don't? Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." When someone gets under your skin, It's not because they're powerful. It's because you left the door to your mind wide open. Instead of reacting on impulse, picture this: you're a remote control. Each button is an emotion: anger, frustration, insecurity. People can try pressing those buttons, but only you decide whether to switch on. You have the power not to react, and that doesn't make you weak. It proves you're in control. Neuroscience backs this up. Intense emotional reactions fire up the amygdala, the brain's alarm center. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, your prefrontal cortex has time to step in and respond with reason instead of reflex. One deep breath can flip the entire script. So next time someone ticks you off, count down from 5 to 1, not to calm down, but to create space. In that space, you can choose how to respond, or choose freedom. Because real freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not letting anyone else control what's inside you. React less. Be more present. Live by your values, not by someone else's game. We're halfway through the video now. If you're still here, you've already crossed a major milestone in self-awareness. A path not everyone has the patience to take. Keep watching to the end. Each part builds on the last, helping you train your mind to grow clearer and steadier every day. If this spoke to you, don't hesitate to share it with someone you care about. Together, we're not just watching a video. We're building our minds. We're growing together. Number 7, live in the present. Have you ever been eating breakfast, but your mind was already racing ahead to that midday meeting, the afternoon deadline, then laundry at night, a call to your mum, and in the end, you can't even remember what you ate? We live as if life is just a draft version, always coming soon, after this is done, when there's time. But this isn't a draft. This is it, real life, happening now, second by second. Stoicism doesn't say, don't plan. It says, don't lose the present to things that haven't happened. The past is like a baked cake. You can't change the ingredients. The future is like a scratch-off lottery ticket. You can obsess over it, but that won't change a thing. The only thing you actually hold in your hands is now. What will you do with it? Once, I saw a middle-aged man waiting at a red light. But instead of staring at his phone like everyone else, he closed his eyes, breathed deeply, hands relaxed. Just 30 seconds. But he stood there like a calm rock in a rushing crowd. A simple image, but it stayed with me. How many times have you stood at a red light while your mind spun like a caged monkey? Marcus Aurelius wrote a line sharp as a blade. A limit of time is fixed for you, which if you do not use for clearing away the clouds from your mind, it will go, and you will go, and it will never return. You don't lack time. You're just spending it worrying about things beyond your control. If you tend to overthink the future, try this. Each morning, before you leave the house, look at something around you, a mop, a power outlet, a spoon, and ask, it's fully present. Am I? Or set a reminder every 3 hours, just to take 3 breaths and tell yourself, I'm here. It takes no time, but over time, you start reclaiming your life. And if you still feel uncomfortable in those empty moments, when there's nothing to do, no goal to chase, maybe you've forgotten. The real challenge isn't doing more. It's stopping and not feeling empty. Because the moment you dare to fully live in the present, that's when you start to train your mind. But are you ready to turn every stumble not into something to avoid, but into the steel that sharpens you? Number 8. Treat challenges as mental training. Have you noticed that life seems to mess with you the most when you're in a hurry? You're rushing to work, your motorbike breaks down, racing to send a report, the internet crashes. Trying to quickly reply to a message, you type the wrong thing, send it to the wrong person. The more you want things to flow smoothly, the more the universe seems to throw wrenches your way. But what if, instead of seeing yourself as a victim, you saw yourself as a competitor in the arena? Stoicism doesn't teach us to avoid discomfort. It teaches us that discomfort is the training ground for resilience. A glove that's only ever known for warmth will never survive the snow. A mind used only to peace will panic when the storm hits. Want to be truly strong? Let yourself be interrupted, misunderstood, disappointed, and still stay grounded. Take a very real-life example. You're doing the dishes after a long, exhausting day. Someone in your household casually says, "Wash them properly this time. There was still grease yesterday." What's your first reaction? Annoyance, right? But what if you saw it as a test of patience? You've just been handed a chance to level up, not because you're weak and must endure, but because you're strong enough not to react. Epictetus once wrote, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." You don't hear that quote shouted from rooftops. It's too quiet, too profound for that. It doesn't need fanfare, because anyone who's truly overcome hardship knows real glory lies in the silent grit of rising, unseen. There's a man named Kevin, a night shift taxi driver in a big city. Each night, he picks up all kinds of passengers, drunk, rude, some who don't even pay. But Kevin never raises his voice. He has this strange little habit. Whenever he's irritated, he silently asks himself, "What is this moment training me for?" One time, a passenger threw up all over his back seat. Kevin took a deep breath, drove to the wash station, said nothing. That night, he told himself, "I just passed a test with no invigilator." Since then, every ride for Kevin has been a hands-on lesson in composure. What about you? What kind of test are you in the middle of today? Are you reacting the same old way, or are you watching yourself from a higher perspective? If you start seeing difficulties as mental push-ups, you'll realize every day carries meaning. And if everyday frictions are your gym, then pain, that's your final exam. The only question is, will you face it and come out stronger than ever before? Number 9, pain is temporary, growth is forever. There's something almost everyone hates, but no one escapes: the feeling of losing. Not the big, dramatic losses, but the quiet, everyday defeats. Getting turned down for a job you wanted, sending a message that goes unanswered, doing the right thing and getting no recognition. Those moments hurt, but pain itself isn't the problem. The problem is we think it'll last forever. Remember the last time someone hurt you? That tight knot in your chest, your mind replaying the moment on loop like a broken tape. And yet, strangely, a few days later, maybe a few weeks, it fades. That's the truth about pain. It shows up uninvited, but it will leave if you don't hold on to it. So, what are you still clinging to that you should have let go of yesterday? Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person who they are." Hardship doesn't turn you into someone else. It strips away the surface and reveals who you've been all along. Every stumble is a chance to meet your raw, unfinished self and choose to shape it. Here's a simple habit to try. The next time something hurts, don't react right away. Breathe, then write down 3 things. I feel. It comes from I choose to respond with. Write it by hand, not on a screen. The feel of pen on paper slows your mind, and in that slowness, things become clearer. A man named Alex once shared how he lost a lot of money because he trusted the wrong friend. He was angry, ashamed, devastated. But instead of running from it, he spent a week writing down every financial decision he'd made, every mistake, every blind spot. He turned betrayal into a mirror. 6 months later, he started a small new venture, this time more careful, more grounded. No one could tell from his voice what he'd been through, but it was there, like a new foundation poured deeper after the collapse. The question is, will you let your pain be a period or a dash? If you're going through something right now, don't rush it away. Face it, learn from it, then walk through it. Not fast, but steady. And if you're ready to live that way, ready to turn pain into inner strength, drop a comment, stronger through pain. Let that be the turning point. Number 10, discipline brings freedom. In the morning, you hit the alarm, snooze, sleep a little more, then jump out of bed, rush to brush your teeth, skip breakfast, mind foggy, fingers swiping through TikTok out of habit. The question is, who's really in charge of your life, you, or a string of unconscious reflexes? It might sound strange, but discipline, often seen as dull or rigid, is actually the foundation of true freedom. We tend to think freedom means doing whatever we want. But if doing whatever we want leads to 3-hour Netflix binges, mindless snacking, and endless procrastination, that's not freedom. That's being trapped inside yourself. Discipline means training your mind not to give in to every short-term urge. Say you commit to reading every day. You're tired today. You still open the book and read 2 pages. Just 2, but it sends a clear message to your brain. I follow through. You wake up 15 minutes earlier just to sit still and jot down a few thoughts for the day. A simple act, but one that grounds your mind before the chaos hits. Nietzsche wasn't a Stoic, but he once said, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. If you can't lead yourself, someone else will. Your boss, the market, the weather, your mood. They'll pull you in every direction." I had a friend with a high-paying job who always felt stuck. Not because the work was too hard, but because his life was on autopilot. Sleeping in randomly, eating whenever, spending money to cope with stress. He didn't lack money. He lacked self-control. When he started jogging every morning, just 10 minutes, everything shifted. From that one habit, he learned how to set goals, push through discomfort, and rebuild his daily structure. The scary part isn't failing. It's not knowing why you're standing still. So what's your challenge? Set one small boundary, 1 cup of coffee a day, or no phone for the first hour after you wake up. You'll see, as discipline grows, so does your inner voice. The Bible once said, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." So who will you side with today? And then one day you'll realize the quiet power of action speaks louder than 1,000 words. But the real question is, are you steady enough to live as a reminder to others, instead of just sounding wise? Number 11, be an example, not just a talker. In the morning, before you open your mouth to tell someone, just be more positive. Pause for a second and ask yourself, am I living that way? A lot of people talk like they're TED speakers in their own kitchen. They sound wiser than Marcus Aurelius, but live like someone constantly annoyed at the world. You tell your kids not to be glued to their phones, then scroll TikTok for 3 hours every night. You tell your friends to be true to themselves, yet every morning you pick out a mask to wear at work. What convinces people isn't what you say, it's how you live. Once, I saw something small but unforgettable at a coffee shop. A man in his 50s was standing in line when a schoolgirl behind him dropped her wallet. Without hesitation, without looking around, he bent down, picked it up, and handed it back like it was nothing. No, please follow me. No, share this feel-good story. It was such a quiet act that no one even noticed, except me. And I thought, that's the kind of person I want to be. Stoicism doesn't push you to become a speaker. It teaches you to be living proof. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." So, how do you lead by example? Don't overthink it. It starts with washing the dishes without being asked. Texting first to apologize, even if you're sure you were more right. Showing up on time because you respect other people's time. Cleaning up your table at the food court, even if it's not your job. These little things, done day in and day out, become your signature. They show that you walk the talk. Now take a moment. Ask yourself, is someone watching how you live? Your child, a colleague, your partner. What are you teaching them without realizing it? Just by how you carry yourself each day. If that hits home, consider following this channel, not for more advice, but so that every morning you'll get a reminder you can be a living example of what you believe in, starting today. Number 12, don't wait for perfection. Have you ever noticed? The thing you keep putting off is often the very thing you want most to do. Writing a journal entry, working out, learning a new skill, launching your own thing. But because you're not good enough, don't have time, or it's not perfect yet, you delay, then delay again, and eventually you drop it altogether. Funny, isn't it? Someone can spend 20 minutes choosing the right filter for an Instagram photo, but won't spare 5 minutes to jot down a startup idea. Because writing feels vulnerable. Posting feels curated. Perfection isn't the goal, it's the excuse. A clever trap set by the ego. It convinces you that not good enough means don't even try. But the truth is, every skill, every breakthrough, start messy, start small, repetitive, often boring. Great guitarists didn't learn by watching others' fingers. They learned by hearing themselves hit the wrong notes 100 times. Seneca once said, "While we wait for life, life passes." We tell ourselves there's still time, but time doesn't wait, especially not for those stalling until everything's perfect. A friend of mine, Thomas, once said he wanted to teach online. He spent 6 months picking a microphone. Then he got caught up in lighting. When I asked, "So, have you filmed anything yet?" he said, "I'm waiting for my new background to arrive." That waiting wasn't about equipment. It was fear dressed up as preparation. But one day, his phone ran out of space. So he shot a quick 3-minute video using the front camera. No edits. That clip? His most shared video ever. So instead of waiting for perfection, build a starter habit. Just do 2 minutes. Type 2 lines. Read 1 paragraph. Run for 5 minutes. Once you start, motivation follows. Or use the 80% rule. If you're 80% ready, begin. The rest, you'll learn along the way. This isn't theory. It's how thousands of creators, entrepreneurs, and athletes actually live. Now think about that thing you've been wanting to do but haven't started. Write it down. Do it badly. Because messy is still real. Messy is still a beginning. Perfect, it never shows up because it's not a destination. It's the trap that keeps you stuck at the starting line. Perfection is the enemy of action. But action, even the smallest step, is how real change begins. We've just explored 12 Stoic meditations to start each morning with calm, clarity, and purpose. From the reminder that death can come at any moment to the quiet power of small, consistent progress. Each lesson is a solid stone on which to build inner strength and intentional living. At their core, they reinforce a timeless truth. Stoicism never stops repeating, you can't control the world, but you can always control how you face it. Live simply. Be grateful. Stay steady. Don't chase perfection. Commit to progress. Don't let others run your mind. Choose how you respond. Every morning is a chance to reset, to train your mind, and to live like someone you truly respect. If you found this video helpful but haven't hit like yet, give it a tap. It really helps spread this message to more people. And feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Every insight is part of the journey we're on together. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. There's much more grounded, powerful, and inspiring Stoic content coming your way. A new morning can start with a single right thought, and your life, it can start again today.